Alechem, and it's one of the Erev Shabbat songs. And, as of yet, Lou told me that they haven't started singing any of these. But remember that all of this that is on YouTube, on the .org directory, and you go in there and then you click on, when it comes up, you click on YouTube. And then these YouTube things come up on there. Just scroll down till you see my picture. It says Roger on there. And then don't click on that. Just click on what's below it. All of the different teachings. Now, so far, there's only 4 weeks on there. We did 5. This is 6 tonight. And so she didn't have the 5th one up there yet. I looked on there, but the songs that we taught everybody, and then you have the handouts, for those songs. And if you don't, remember that like here is Lakune Ranina Leranai Naria, and Lakadodi is on here. And then last week's teaching, if you didn't get last week's teaching sheet, no, you didn't get it because you weren't here. But then you just need to come up and get these two, because I'm not going to walk all the way back there. But and make sure David gets his too. But you can go online, and when you go to that teaching, then you've got the sheet where you can do the review on the song and sing along with the YouTube thing on there.
And what do you type in when you get on YouTube? What's the code word?
No, you're not on YouTube. You go to a .org.
It's also on YouTube.
And then when you're in a .org, it comes up and it says that the services are on Facebook and YouTube. Just click on YouTube where it says YouTube, and then all the YouTube stuff comes up. And then just go down to where it says Roger's Teachings, and then click on the thing below, that just has the verbiage, of these are all the different teachings. Just click on that, and then the list comes up, and then click on the one you want.
You can also get directly to that from YouTube.
Yeah.
Adatetik Zion, and they have their own YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And you can see these and the and the Shabbat services
yeah.
and everything
Yeah,
else.
I've been able to see those on Facebook.
Okay.
The services, yeah.
Yeah,
So
this
I
isn't
gotta
on
find them on
Facebook.
YouTube, yeah.
I actually like the YouTube ones better than the Facebook ones. It seemed like the sound was better. I don't know.
The old ones, you mean?
No, I mean, the YouTube ones that just seem to become, they just are out there. It seems like a better package. I don't know. But anyway, so tonight we're going to do this one. And I really enjoy this. My wife and I, when it's Erev Shabbat, we light the candles, and she lights the candles and does the prayer, and it's a time just to stand there and we have our arms around each other, and we sing the songs, and we do all of that, and we have our Shabbat dinner. And it's just a lot of fun. The thing is that the sun doesn't go down till really late.
Yeah.
And so I usually just say, honey, it's 7 o'clock. I think it's Shabbat. And so we just go ahead and light the candles, because if you wait till you can see 3 stars in the sky now, you're going to be up really late watching those flames.
When we were in Israel on Shabbat, at
Oh.
after 6 o'clock or
6
7 o'clock.
p.m.
It's light out, but they opened up the stores.
Oh, yeah.
On David Street,
Yeah.
right there on David Street, going down. to
Yes,
the temple.
yeah.
Well, it's scriptural. The scripture says that
9
6
o'clock to
a.m. to
6
6
o'clock.
p.m. and then 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. is the
Sundown
dividing.
to sundown to
Yeah,
sundown.
it's
Right,
kind
I'm talking
of,
something different.
yeah.
There's a time that he divides the day and the night between 6.
Well, it's not 6.
6
no,
to
there's
6.
No 6 and 6
No.
in there.
There's no
No,
times like
no.
that in the Bible.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
no. It's this is all based on what's going on with the moon and the stars and
There was evening, there was
Yeah.
morning
They
the
didn't
first
have
day.
watches.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's it.
Evening, morning, the first day.
Yeah.
So it starts in the evening every day.
We don't wait.
What's that?
Yeah.
So,
No, I
and
know,
the
I-
other-
I know. I could have
But we
sworn.
don't
The
know
other
what
thing that we want to
time.
get into
I don't have to
tonight
find it.
is, remember last week we talked about the whole thing of Baal.
Yep.
And so right at the bottom of the page here is this very interesting little thing, and I'm just going to read it to you. June the 1st, 2016. This also happened in 2016, which is what you have the note from last week on the Baal stuff, with the Arch of Baal that was erected in our country and all of that. So anyway, all of that. This is worse. This is even worse. Now, I can tell you, yes, you can go online and see the ceremony. Do not go on and see the ceremony. It is totally satanic. It is one of the worst things, and I know how to take authority. I'll tell you what, and I had to big time. On that date, the opening ceremony of the Gotthard train tunnel in Switzerland, and that tunnel is 35.4 miles long, and it took 17 years to complete. The opening ceremony, totally satanic. They have the goat man demon, and then there's the scripture about how they worship this goat god. And that's also in Baal. But their whole thing, they were singing songs about 666 and proclaiming Satan as king.
Like Christian Bale
Yeah,
at the Emmys.
yeah.
The goat, yeah, satanic goat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no, he gave credit to the Lord Satan for his Emmy.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, all of this stuff is incredible.
Tom wants a
And all of these two things took place. Now there's more, but I only listed this one this time. And I have to tell you, they have people dancing in their underwear, and I mean, it is not good. And no, I told my wife, I said, honey, you are never going to see this video. Because quite frankly, this is absolutely horrible. But what had happened? They had all of the dignitaries that are part of the nations, that the Euro and all of that. All of those people were there. You'd be surprised at the people from this country that attend things like this, and it just blows you away, So I wanted to call your attention to that, but that's just one more thing about how these spirits come into these countries, and you see things going on. You say, well, how's that happening in Switzerland? I thought Switzerland was this cool place, No, believe me, that they made an open invitation to,
And then there's the CERN.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So when you say, well, where are we as to the end times?
Well,
Revelation.
Gary,
We're like 12, 15 years away.
I think we're pretty darn close, aren't we, buddy?
Like 2 or 3.
Hallelujah, man. It's getting closer by the second. So anyway, this is a great song. These are the guitar chords that are in red, but when we do this on Shabbat, we just usually do everything a cappella. Even though I play guitar in that, I don't break it out. I just stand with my wife and we hold hands and we just do this, you know. And it's really a great time. Now, you have to remember, my wife and I have been married for 55 years. That's a long time. And so I can speak pretty authoritatively about good marriage and how to have good marriage. And I will tell you without any hesitation, keep the Sabbath. Keep it holy. You know, do not forget God and His name. And, you know, and remember that it's a great time to pray for the family and all of that. So this is one of the great songs for Shabbat. Shalom Alechem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Otem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, who is what? Who is He? Who is He? And so when you see that who, you know, Baruch Hu, it's not a strange word. It's those little words. You know, Li is me. Me is who. Who is he. He is she. Teach that to your children. These things are so important. And should we do it again? One more time? We got to do that. Okay, I'm going to try this. And then remember, all you have to do if you want to review it is just go online, pull up that, you know, tonight's teaching, and you can sing this all over again. And that's that way with all the songs and with lighting the candles. And of course, you did the candle lighting stuff, both the, you know, girls back there. So let's do this again. Shalom Alechem, Malachei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I did the last part.
Yeah.
Oops.
You know what? I start sometimes at the end, in the middle, I don't know. Yeah. Oh boy. Shalom Alechem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Otem Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, it's like, you know, our wonderful lady here said when she would get together with her friend who was a survivor of Auschwitz, they would sing this.
We did the other one.
Yeah, you did the other one. You know, and so but it is fun to do this. When I was teaching at ITT, I was teaching mathematics at ITT for a couple of years. I did that in the evenings. It was just a good thing. And the head of the school there at that time, you know, the administrator, she was Jewish from Chicago. And we would walk down the halls, and I would start singing some of these songs, and she would sing along. And then later on, before I left there, I had turned in my resignation. I said, I'm not going to teach anymore at ITT because, you know, it's just eating up a lot of time. And I've done it for a couple of years, and it was fun. And she was in there with all the teachers. And she looked at me and she said, Roger, there is one thing I have to know before you leave this building. How is it possible to be a Jew for Jesus?
There's your opening.
Did we answer that question? Yes, we did. It was fun to do, too. So, tonight, looking at, I'm going to go to my notes here on Isaiah 53, where I have all of the Hebrew written out. And I'm going to go to verse 8, you know, where it says verse 8. You know, it's this page right here, you know, where we're actually looking at the Isaiah 53, the actual Hebrew text, and handwritten by yours truly. Yeah, though that's if you just wanted to read it, you know, and do the transliteration. But yeah, there we go. And just go to where it says chapter 8, and we'll get there. And remember, this is all this particular thing is in PDF on your USB flash drive on your computer. Those of you that have that on there. Don, did you do that housekeeping thing that I asked? I sent an email to you to make sure that you deleted those files out there. I had a couple of files that I shouldn't have had on there. Okay, I'll give you a reminder note tonight. Okay. Anyway, on here there is a wonderful thing, and it says at the bottom down there where it says chapter 8. And then it's got Isaiah 53, 8 through 10, skip of 20. Skip of 20. And when you do that, and then I put that on there and circled the letters with red. Yeah, this is the main thing that we're doing in here. The whole thing of Isaiah 53, and you know, you should have all of that stuff in there. Yeah, you have it. You've got it, your finger right on it. She's got it right there on her finger. Anyway, on there it says, Yeshua is my name. Yeshua Shmi. Yeshua Shmi. Yeshua is my name. Yeshua Shmi. And everybody should have that. If you don't, be sure and run your own copy. It's on your computer. You know, like I said, in the PDF files. It's just called literally Isaiah 53. Study, you know. Study of Isaiah 53. And then there's another one that I put out there, and it had this on there. Gary, does yours have that on there?
I don't have that particular page, but I got 53 but I don't have that particular page.
Okay. Well, yeah, you didn't probably run it off. I sent it to you. I sent it to everybody. But, you know, so anyway, right there, encoded in Isaiah 53, 8 through 10, at a skip of 20, it says, Yeshua Shmi. Yeshua is my name. Now, does that happen any other place in Scripture, where the Jews, how about when you read the book in the Tanakh, where it never mentions God, and yet you know God is in there? Esther, the book of Esther. How many of you know that in the Tanakh, when it's looking at the book of Esther, there is a notation? Now, this is a rabbinic notation. This isn't some Christian notation. This is a rabbinic notation. And it has in there that it says, Yud He Vav He.
Hallelujah.
And encoded in there. And so it says, even though God is never mentioned, he is behind the scenes. And what they point out as a proof of that is that his name is encoded in, and not just in that one place. It's several places in the book of Esther where the name of God is found.
Anytime you get the shin or even the hour, you have the Father.
Well, that's
I'm just saying,
yeah, but this is the rabbinic. This
No, I
is rabbinic.
understand.
So you have to understand. I'm not interested in ministering to a bunch of people that are non-Jewish. My thing is to reach Jews with the good news of the gospel.
Amen, brother.
And so this is the kind of thing. But you have to remember that when you show somebody this, you have to know that in Esther, in the Tanakh, and you should have a Tanakh, so you can open it up to that. And next week I'll bring my Tanakh. I was going to bring it tonight, and pass it around because there you're able to see it. This is a rabbinic note. The rabbis wrote this down, that even though he's not mentioned in this book, he is definitely there. And it's encoded in there. And so, those of you that are here on Shabbat, I'll show you in the Tanakh where it says that. But it's, that's one of the reasons why when I'm called into question by a Jewish person that says, well, that's a Christian thing, that's not. No, this is a Jewish thing. And these notes like this are in the Tanakh, dealing with God. And so, boy, I just hate that you, you don't have this at all, do you?
Why, who needs one?
No, they don't have it down there.
Can't
I've
find
got an
it.
extra copy.
Bring it on, buddy.
Yeah. So, anyway,
We need chapter
that,
and page numbers. We need chapters and
that
page
particular
numbers.
thing is really exciting to have just that, There it is.
He's excited he found the page.
He finally found the page.
Yeah.
After we got all, and went hoarse trying to get this. Yeah, it's like the mystery of how to open a water bottle. They got these magic tabs and everything.
There's one copy of it right there.
Okay, there you go.
Wait. And I've got another one right here.
We don't have the skip thing.
You don't have the 8? Yeah, they
Yeah,
do.
he does. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it does right there.
Right there. You need it?
There's a whole nother copy if someone needs it.
Here you go, right here. This is for you guys.
Thank you.
Okay,
You guys both want one? Does anybody need one?
You guys need it.
Bam.
he's got it on his computer
Thank
screen
you.
because it's in the notes, and so if you don't have it, you can run a copy later or whatever. But and some people they like to bring their computer and just set it up and then just go right to it. But it is exciting to see that here in there it says that. Well, one of the things about Isaiah, and I did this on purpose, 7 times in Isaiah 53, 7 times in the Berit HaKadashah, the New Testament, or the renewed covenant, 7 times it's mentioned about how Isaiah 53 is all about Yeshua. 7 times. And so I listed the scriptures and what verses they allude to in Isaiah 53. So not only does it say Yeshua Shmi, Yeshua is my name, saying that Isaiah 53 is about Yeshua, but also when you go to the New Testament, into the Berit HaKadashah, the scriptures are given right here, and I have them written right across from the verses, that they apply to. Does everybody see that, or it's getting real quiet in here? I'm not. Are you following that?
Yes.
If I can,
Huh?
if I can.
You can't see it?
I got it.
Oh, you got it. Okay. All right. He's got his finger on it now, man.
That's what I'm doing too.
Yeah.
The one we got today.
This is the sheet that I handed out tonight. And right there are the scriptures, the 7 places in Scripture where it says this was done to fulfill which was written by the prophet Isaiah. But it's not just Isaiah, it's Isaiah 53, and it's this verse. So twice, once in John 12, 37 through 38, and Romans 10, 16, applied to the first verse of Isaiah 53. They're both dealing with the first verse. John 1, 10 through 12 deals with verse 3 of Isaiah 53. Matthew 8, 14 through 17, and 1 Peter 2, 19 through 25 deal with verses 4 and 5 in Isaiah 53. And then verses 7 and 8 in Isaiah 53, that's Acts 8, 26 through 35, with special emphasis on verse 33. Then in verse 9, we actually go back to 1 Peter chapter 2, but it's only verse 22. Just that one verse. That applies to verse 9 in Isaiah 53. Then it goes to Luke 22, 35 through 38, deals strictly with Isaiah 53, verse 12. Now, how many of you had that worked out in your head already? Because they don't teach that
No.
in Bible college. And why not? Why not? Why?
Because they're not talking to Jews.
Yeah. But in order to really understand this, you have to understand it
Yes.
from the Jewish perspective. Otherwise, you're not going to, it's going to go right over your head. And you're going to go, why? But so all these places just say, this was done to fulfill which was written in the prophet Isaiah. But it's not just in Isaiah, the book of Isaiah. No, these 7 places all deal with one chapter, the forbidden chapter, chapter 53. Isn't that cool?
Yes.
So when you're dealing with somebody, not only do you have this, and that same logic, the skip distance and everything, is used by Jews, by teachers in Judaism, to say, hey, here's God in a book where God is not mentioned. But he's behind the scenes. He's hidden. This is hidden. But we see it. Why do we see it? Because, we see it because God showed it to us. That's the only reason we see it. God showed us these things. There have been people that have been sitting in synagogues and the rabbi be doing something, and all of a sudden they would go, oh, well, whoa, look at this. There's a skip thing, and it spells this out, and wow, that's so cool. And you're thinking, they did that without a computer. But they had God show them. And sometimes God has to literally show you. I have a rabbi friend, he was an Orthodox rabbi, and he found Yeshua in Daniel chapter 9. Because of the word karat. Now, I know this is a little rabbit trail, but
Rabbi trail.
a rabbi trail, but let me take you down a little rabbit trail here. This is not the white rabbit. This is but just so happens that I made a notation. Anyway, we have in Isaiah, or in Daniel chapter 9, verse 24 through 26. In verse 26, it says karat. Where it says cut off, that he would be cut off. Well, in Micah 5:8, that word karat is used of the death penalty. And when you start checking it out, all the places that this word appears in Scripture, karat, when it says cut off, it's always the death penalty. That Messiah had received the death penalty. Karat.
What verse in that, Michael, was it?
No, Daniel.
No, you said Michael.
Micah 5:8 or something?
Oh, Micah 5:8.
What was Daniel?
And so when you're looking at that, and then you realize now I could have listed, there's a whole list I have, but I didn't write all of those down in my little book here. But the word karat, the cough, it's the cough. And then below that is the patak, or the kamats. So you have a cough, and then under that is the kamats, the little T, remember? And then you have the resh, and under the resh is the patak, just the horizontal line. And then you have the tav, karat. And that is what's in Daniel 9, and it's actually in verse 26, but we read 24 through 26. But then when you check it out, the other places that it's used, like in Micah 5:8, it means the death penalty. Always. Karat. So he found that, and that turned him around. Now, he was good friends with the head Orthodox rabbi in Denver. And, that's a problem, isn't it? When your other rabbi friend now is a believer in Yeshua. But they were such good friends, they stayed friends. All the way till when that head rabbi in Denver, when he passed away. And then all of his stuff, like his set of tefillin and that, they gave him to now a Messianic rabbi. It's so funny because he loves Yeshua. Well, when you go to the service, it is just very much like going through an Orthodox service. That's what he knows, you know. He wasn't raised in church. How many of you know that there are a lot of Messianic rabbis out there that they just weren't raised in church? They have no idea about church at all. All they know is they know the synagogue. They know they have the Torah. They have the Torah. He has the Torah. He has the Megillah, Megillot. He's got all of those. He's got, this is what he knows. And so he's really a neat guy, and I enjoy conversing with him. But he found Yeshua in that. Now I simplified it a little bit. We're talking about a long period of time here, but I simplified it down to that. But it's things like that. When you know the Hebrew text and you look at it and you say, this word that is translated cut off means death penalty. So we look at that and we go, wow. And then when we look at these verses of scripture from the Berit HaKadashah, and they're all 7 of them are dealing with this one chapter in Isaiah. Isn't that great? Now, up at the beginning, I went through and I told you last week we're going to look at the theme of each one of the 3 verses, because Isaiah 53 is divided into groups of 3. Verse 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10, 11, 12. And each one of them has a different theme. But, when you're looking at Isaiah 53, and you're going down through the verses, you don't really start to see where you can say, this is actually talking about, with no doubt in my mind, no hesitation, no doubt, is verse 8 and verse 9. These are definitely talking about Messiah Yeshua. Definitely, there's no getting around it. You could say, well, verse 1 could apply to this, or verse 2, or verse 3, the suffering servant. And when it says suffering servant, it says in the Hebrew, remember it says in the Hebrew, that he was plagued. He was plagued. Well, they look at that and they say he was leper. He was leprous. He had it was like leprosy.
Matzora or Tzara.
Yeah, and so they when they're looking at this, there are rabbinic comments that says that the Messiah, the suffering Messiah, the suffering servant, actually, they refer to him as a leper. And you can go online and you can type that in and you'll find material on that. It's very interesting, but the whole thing of the suffering servant is the theme of those first 3 verses, and I put Isaiah 49:7 there because it ties to that. So if you look Isaiah 49:7 up, you're going to see how that ties into this suffering Messiah. And I really encourage that. I encourage you to go through the Berit HaKadashah, look at those verses, and then look at the verses, that they're tied to, what it's talking about. But when you're looking at the suffering servant, it's Isaiah 49:7. Well, then the next 3 are talking, it's 4, 5, and 6. This is so interesting to me. Verse 4 deals with our attitudes. And the verse 5 deals with our behavior. and verse 6 deals with our nature. And it's called the saving truth. The theme of those three, the saving truth. Now you may come up with a different way of saying that. I don't care. You know, you may look at that and go, well, I don't think it should have been called the saving truth. I think, I don't care. You could write your own thing there. But, it's however it makes sense to you, but it's dealing with these things. Now, remember when last week when we were looking at, I'm going to get my Bible out here. And remember that I will say very unequivocally that there is no such thing as a translation of Scripture. And I know Rabbi Nate would be right in here going, no, there isn't. If you want to see it, look at it in the Hebrew. Get a Tanakh. Read it in the Hebrew. Don't expect your so-called translations, no matter how well they were done, to be a translation. It says this is the King James Version translation, the one that Paul used. I don't think so.
The one that Paul used.
No. Well,
Yo, brethren.
yo, brethren, yeah, I tell you what, I grew up down south. My home for a long time was Key West, Florida. And you attended the Baptist church down there. And if you weren't Baptist, somebody was messing with you. But I have to say, I got a free Bible.
King James.
But it was King James. Oh yeah. And I did have to memorize the 23rd Psalm. We had all these things that we had to do as children. And I can't say that any of that was bad. But now I have absolutely no idea where I was headed here with this.
So is that a Tree of Life Bible, or what's that one?
This is King James.
Oh, that's just a King James.
Yeah, well, see, I know where all the boo-boos are.
It's just the King James.
When you know where all the boo-boos are, you can say, this is not correct. I mean, there are additions. How many of you noticed that wow, if Paul would have given his testimony a second time, he would have done it the same way he did the first time. And so they just reiterated everything he said the first time. It's not in the Greek text. So you have all these problems with, there's intentions, where they'll say, oh, I believe this would have been his intention to go at it this way, but,
Nasty.
Well, it is, and I'm gonna just look at this real quick. Isaiah 53, and I want to show you this. This is so neat. Here is 4, 5, and 6. Remember that surely he hath borne our griefs, our attitude of grief. You see how this works? He's borne our griefs. He carried our sorrows, or he carried Roger's sorrows. My attitude of sorrow. How many of you see yourself as a victim? Don't raise your hand and admit that.
You're a victim?
Poor Roger, he sees himself as a victim.
He's a victim of ice cream.
Yeah, victim of ice cream. So anyway, that's where I wrote that down. That's dealing with attitudes. And here's this. They've got all these attitudes of sorrows and griefs and then in verse 5, he was wounded for our transgressions. Well, the transgression, that's behavior. My behavior is a transgression. You know, I got into all kinds of things I shouldn't have gotten into in my so see where I went with that? So when I say that it's dealing with behavior, that's the reason. And then in verse 6, which is interesting, where it says, we all like sheep have gone astray and turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on Yeshua the iniquity of us all. Of us all. And I just put down nature. You know, by nature, I am sinful and unclean. But when I got the Lord in my life,
Hallelujah.
He changed my nature. He gave me a new nature. Yeah. That's pretty neat, isn't it? How many of you needed a new nature? I know I did.
And a new attitude and a new behavior.
Well, but I'm going to take you down to verse 9, because in verse 9, I have on here some, the Hebrew word for deaths, the plural word for deaths. But I want to show you something in verse 9. Verse 9 says that because he had done no Hamas,
Violence.
lo Hamas, no what? He keeps whispering. Yes, there's no violence in him. Say, wow, Hamas, where did I hear that word before?
In Israel.
In Yeshua, in verse 9 it says there that there was no Hamas. Lo Hamas. Lo is no in Hebrew. Lo is no.
It's not
It doesn't mean maybe, or it just means no. Let your no be no,
violence.
and your yea be yea. Remember that yes is Ken, like the Ken doll,
It's violence.
and lo is no. You go no murder, no adultery, this kind of stuff.
Well, when you see the original 10, it says lo, lo, lo on all the commandments.
Yes, on all the
Just
commandments.
one word lo and another word for what the commandment is.
That's right. And I happen to have the 10 Commandments in Hebrew on my mantle above my fireplace. Hand done by a man who was really good with wood and a burning tool. And burned all that into this wood. And but he had he wanted to live in the Jewish community. And it does non-Jew. Well, this is nice. Jewish synagogues and like, they like to have the Shabbos Goy. I can't build the sukkah now because it's already Sukkot. But you're a Goy.
Build it for me.
I can't ask you to build it. But if I turn my back and you built it, it'd be okay. But I can't ever ask you to do it.
It'd be a mitzvah.
Don't throw that extra log on that fire because I'm cold. Because I could never ask you to do that.
Sidewalk is slippery, better throw them in the cracks
I'm over here going, where's the goy to throw the fire? Anyway, in him there was no lo Hamas. Do you understand what lo Hamas means?
No violence.
Okay, give the girls a chance.
Oh,
No.
You were ready to just say that, weren't you? No violence.
say it. Say it.
Say
it.
No violence.
Yay, good job.
So, but that's really, I think it's important. I'm going to say something, and can we turn that off just for a second? And